For this lesson, we are looking at learning objective is I can use partitioning for addition. Now, sometimes I might have quite a simple addition, something like this, 34 add 25. Why is that simple? Why would I not need to use a written method for that? Can you tell someone who's sitting near you? Of course, the reason I don't need to use any sort of written method, and I could probably do that in my brain and mentally, is because neither of these numbers, when I add them up, goes over the 10. I'll show you what I mean by that. 3 add 2, it's not 3 add 2, is it? 30 add 20 is 50. 4 add 5 is 9. I put them together, the answer is 59. It doesn't really require a written method. I could have just done that in my head. Okay, but sometimes we are going to need to use a written method to help us out a little bit, because sometimes the calculation can go over the 10. I'll show you what I mean. So for example, if I had 56 add 27, in my head I'd be thinking, well, 50 add 20, that's 70, 6 that's, suddenly I go to a little bit of a challenge in my brain. It becomes a little bit harder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write it out a little bit. I've got 50 plus 20 equals 70. So I've partitioned the 10s and the 1s. That's the first thing I've done. Now I'm going to look at my 1s, which is 6 and 7. Now 6 plus 7, I find that a little bit hard. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my number bonds, okay? So I know my number bond for 6 is 4. Remember, in other videos I've said you really need to make sure you learn those number bonds. They are two numbers that you add together to make 10, or to make whatever your target might be. It could be two numbers you add together to make 100. It's really important to be able to use your number bonds, because once we get to a 10, it's really easy. I'll show you. So, use my number bond for 6 is 4, so 7 is going to become 4 and 3. There's my number bond. I've got a 3 left over. So 6 add 4 is 10, add the 3 is 13, and now all I've got to do is 70 plus 13. Well, 70 plus 10 is 80 plus the 3. There you go. And that's the answer to my first question. So, quite simple. I'll tell you what, I'll leave that up on the board. I'll move my Vietnamese charms down a little bit, have a little go at some of these questions. So, my first one is going to be 27 plus 38. Then we're going to do 45 plus 39. We'll have one more. We'll do 68 plus 45. So what I'd like you to do now is have a little go at those and pause the video. Okay, now that you've paused the video and you've had a little go, let's come back to these numbers and let's see how well we did. So, on this one, I've got my 20 and 30, and 20 plus 30, of course, is 50. I've got my 7 and my 8. Well, what I'm going to do is use my number bond, so I know that my number bond for 8 is 2, so I'm going to take 2 away from this, so that's going to become 5 and 2. So 8 plus the 2 is 10, plus the 5 is 15. 50 plus 15 is 65. Okay, quite simple. Right, next one, 45 plus 39. Give myself a little bit of space and I'll clear that one out of the way. 45 plus 39. So I'll do my 40 and my 30, which equals 70. Now I'm going to do 9 and 5. Well, I know my number one for 9 is 1, so I'm going to turn that into a 1 and a 4. So 9 add 1 is 10, add the 4 is 14. Add them together, 84. Nice and simple. Rub that one out. Okay, now we've got 68 add 45. So we've got 68 plus 45. Right. Now, did something happen on this one? Did you notice it being a little bit different? I've noticed some number bonds here. 60 and 40 goes to 100. Ooh. So I've got 60 and 40, which is 100 straight away. Now I've got 8 and 5. Number bond for 8 is 2, so I'm going to turn that into a 2 and a 3. 8 add 2 is 10, add 3 is 13. 100 add 13 is 113. Okay? I'm hoping that you got answers similar to that. Let's have a go now. I'm going to do something in the hundreds, make it a little bit more tricky. So, we've got 148, and we're going to add 273. 3. Okie dokie. How about you have a little go, and then I will model it for you afterwards. Pause. Okay, now you're back. Let's see if you did a similar system to me. Now, do you know what? I'm going to break it down nice and simply like this. I'm going to do my 100 plus 200. There's my hundreds. Then I'm going to do my tens there. So I've got 70, add 40. Then a different way around there, doesn't really matter. 8 and 3, and then there's my 8 plus 3. So let's have a look at this and see how simple this is. 100 plus 200 is 300. 70 add 40, oh, a little bit hard, but I know that 70 add 30 is 100. Add the other 10, because if I do 30 and 10 there, it equals 110. And then we've got 8 and 3. Well, I know my number one for 8 is 2, so I tell you what, I'm going to break that into 2 and 1. So 8 add 2 is 10, add the 1 is 11. And now all I've got to do is add these up. So 300 add 110 is 410, add 11 is 421. Okay, right. I'll put a few questions on the board for you to have a little go at, and then I will solve them alongside you. So, let's have a little go. This can be our first question. We can have 245 plus 326 equals, and then we'll have 317 plus 448. And I think that'll do for now. Have a little go at those two for me, please. Pause. Okay, let's go through them. 300 add 200 equals 500. That's my 2 and my 3. Right, now we've got 40 add 20 equals 60. Okay. Now we've got the 5 and the 6. Well, I know 6 plus 4 plus 1, it must be 11. So 6 plus 5 equals 11. What I'm going to do is add them up. 500, 560, 571. There we go. 571. Let's do this one. 300 plus 400 equals 700. Now we've got, oh, that's quite simple, isn't it? 10 plus 40 equals 50. And now we've got 8 and 7. Well, not to panic, okay, because I know my number one for that is 2. So I can break that into 2 and 5. 8 add 2 is 10, add 5 is 15. Okay, 750, 765. Right. Now, rather than me just leaving you lots of questions to have a go at, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make yourself an endless bank of questions, okay? Now the way you're going to do this, I'd like you to get yourself a piece of paper. Here is the piece of paper. And I'd like you to write the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. Okay? What I want you to then do, I want you to cut up your piece of paper into lots of little squares. Okay? You could do this with 2 pieces of paper. Pop them in a bag, and then either get your brother, your sister, your mum, your dad, or anybody who's with you to pick you out some random numbers, put them together, and you're going to make your own addition questions, and you're going to practice that method. If you want to look at what it looks like, then just rewind the video back to where I modelled it and use that as an example for your next activity. Okay? I can use partitioning for addition.